Om, brothers and knights of Banjo Hollow. We'll make this vlog our October KBH Podcast. A common theme we have here at the KBH is anti-psychology and psychiatry. Today we're talking about Sickman Freud. We couldn't want to analyze such a pathetic, disgusting excuse for a human being. However, since he invented psychology and is a household name, he is in need of a thorough debunking. Not too many years ago, a certain author has discovered that Sigmund Freud, the father of psychiatry, killed his older brother John and at least 8 other people, mostly patients. This book is called Passion for Murder, and readers are invited to decide for themselves concerning the conclusions of this book. However, the evidence that I read there establishes quite a few facts and connects dots which Freud himself created, meaning that a lot of the evidence comes from Freud's books. Freud wrote about what he did, and he also said, I really, really want to kill my older brother John, and I just really, really want to do it. And then you look at the circumstantial evidence that Freud lied about his brother. His brother was long dead. He was killed, and Freud kept lying to everybody that his brother was alive and he was in London, and Freud's active lying about it and active participation in covering up his brother's death, and then writing that he really, really wants to kill him, doesn't look too good, does it? And that's why we've added him to our page on Circumcision Karma. There will be a link down on the bottom as yet another circumstump serial killer. So in case some of the readers and viewers have not found this connection yet, there is an intimate connection between typical serial killing, that is the mutilation and sex with women. At the same time, there's an intimate relationship between that and circumcision. And there's that website that we made on that concerning the other 8 deaths that Freud committed, or murders that he committed, were to his patients. And that evidence is very clear, a bit less circumstantial than the evidence for him killing his older brother John. Quite clear that he had intentionally administered X times the dose of a certain drug to X rich female who, he had insurance policies out on these people, and he was collecting money off of these dead patients. So that makes you a serial killer, doesn't it? Almost as disgusting as murder is that he loved having MIPS, that's KBH slang for mucosally induced prostatic spasms. We do not call it sex, because sex seems to indicate procreation. But he was having MIPS with his incestuous family. Yes, he had sex with several members of his family, and he was accused of being queer by his students. So we have letters from a student saying to Freud that I don't want to go to bed with you, so I'm leaving. I don't want to be your student anymore. So that's proof that Freud was a queer. He also was a cocaine and nicotine addict. Some people think nicotine or smoking is not that big of a problem. We'll look at Sigmund Freud. He smoked off his lower jaw. So his jaw was so infected from smoking that his lower jaw was cut out and then replaced. And when the lower jaw was replaced, he then continued smoking, and he died at a pretty young age from that. Now, Freud, like Einstein and many other glorified lecherous Jews, was part of the Rothschild program to destroy religion and the role that religion plays in society, and replace it with materialism. Materialism, as it is also practiced by the incestuous Charles Darwin. Yes, Darwin married his cousin. It is the sad idea that material is the cause and source of all that exists, or we could put this more bluntly, that materialists think that only material exists. And you even talk to them about the fact that there's a mind, and then there's a mind realm, and they say, oh, that's wishy-washy. You know, a lot of your atheists and skeptics will also, you know, be critical of anything discussing matters of the heart, psychology, why things happen on a social level, a relationship level, and they just simply don't want to admit that anything energetic exists. So they first say there's no soul realm. They're all atheists. Freud was an atheist, and then they're starting to tackle the role that religion plays in the mind realm in dealing with the problems of the heart, relationship troubles. And he plays on people's idea that, well, you want to talk to somebody, you want to let out your feelings, so let's find somebody intelligent and objective. And so you go to this guy, you lay it down on the couch, and there's all these books around you. And I noticed that about the videos of the atheists, and what's his name, Dawkins. You know, he's always taking pictures of his bookshelves, like, wow, look, I've got these big fat books on my bookshelves. I've read all these books. But the man is completely incapable of meditating, closing his eyes and concentrating for 1 minute. So what are all these books worth? And then Freud is an even bigger joke. You're going to go to this serial killer, incest guy, queer, you know, blowing smoke in your face because you think he's intelligent because he's got these books on his shelf. That's just hilarious. All the pictures of Freud too show just, you know, he's just all mean looking, you know, almost like, I'm serious. Well, yeah, you're a serious smoker. You know, if we asked you to do something else, like, you know, meditate for 1 minute, or be a vegetarian, or stop drinking, or have some discipline, that, no, you can't do that, but he can very, very religiously, regularly stick with that smoke. So that seems to be his object. So pretty odd that people want to go to this mutilated, incestuous serial killer spewing fumes in their face, and this guy is supposed to replace our nice, clean priest at the church and replace the whole confession process, the process of learning about morals, self-criticism, in order to pull yourself up and get yourself in a better position in life. Now, instead of prescribing cocaine like Sickman Freud, the psychiatrist prescribed brain-damaging drugs. One example of something that's brain-damaging is fluoride, and 40% of your psychoactives are based on fluoride, and they have to, all these drugs have to have a very toxic element in order to break the brain barrier, and that's damaging your brain. It's killing brain cells, nervous tissue. These heavy metals, soft metals, are storing up in your bones and in your nervous tissue and destroying them, sometimes melting them away like mercury, and even then, that's just the drug that they're listing the drug being. Anything chemical created in laboratory or in pharmaceutical factory will have several unreacted products which are extremely toxic. For example, cyclohexane, which I think you have to pull out of, you know, several jars and several bags just in order to open the stuff up and start using it. And this is one of the main building blocks that they use to create things, and it will not entirely react and become the goal product. It will be called a secondary product or an unreacted product, and you're eating that. and that's also extremely toxic. And so drugs, also being a material thing, they're coming from the outside. There's nothing about them that is discipline, nothing about them that is coming from within. It's not finding self-strength. It's external reliance. That's what these drugs are. And so psychiatry is all based on drugs. They don't have anything better to do for you than to either cut things away from you or to rearrange in some wacky order what you already have in some unnatural, externally forced way, which can create dependence, or it can create accidents, and that's why so many people in the loony bins, maybe up to half of them, are former LSD users and users of psychoactive stuff. Now, let's talk about the religious perspective here. The religious psychology and science of psychology does not use drugs, and religion states that drugs are not the source of our happiness. They say that serving God and knowing what God is and living for God is a state of bliss. And when you are in trouble and when you're sick, having family problems or relation problems, you should study what you're doing from a moral perspective and ask yourself how you can do better morally. And reducing your karmic load, increasing your discipline, these are the only and final solutions to the problems of the heart. And thanks for tuning into the KBH Podcast. Happy October, and Om.